And pleased to have on the line with me Darcy Schoening. And she is the Director of Special Initiatives with the Colorado State GOP. She's a candidate for the Colorado GOP Chair. And I saw her yesterday out in Holyoke at the Phillips County Lincoln Day event. Darcy, welcome. It was a great day, wasn't it?
It was such a fun Lincoln Day dinner. Thank you. It was great to see you, Kim. Thank you.
Well, and I just saw this come through on Twitter that Donald Trump got off an airplane at midnight, and the caption is, "Does he ever sleep?" And I was just thinking, Darcy Schoening, do you ever sleep either?
Sometimes. Yeah, no. I get plenty of rest, but I love doing this. So that's part of why I wanted to be chair. Somebody said on the call the other day, "Oh, it's a thankless job," and I was like, no, it's not. Going around to places like Holyoke and seeing everybody and getting all those hugs and meeting new friends, like that's the thanks. This is the greatest job ever.
Well, and boy, it is a tough job being state GOP chair, particularly here in Colorado. And so first of all, set this up. This election is at the end of March, correct? And who votes on this exactly, Darcy Schoening?
So it is March 29th, and it's in Colorado Springs, but it's a hybrid meeting. And it's voted on by the state central committee members. So that is those are the elected vice chair, chair, secretary, and bonus members for each of the 64 counties in Colorado. So it winds up being about 480 state central committee members who vote on this election.
Okay. And you said this is March 29th. So why? Why should you be Colorado State GOP chair for the next couple of years?
Well, as I've, continued to stress to people, not only have I been putting in the work and just showing people who I am, every media person out there is like, listen, like she's genuine, she's everywhere, she's a doer. I've shown to the voters that I show up, I get things done, I stand for our children. I'm building the Build Our Benches initiative. I've already got tons of donor commitments, about $200,000 for the school board races. But more than that, I bring people together, as I showed in Washington, D.C., and with all of the events. So, people talk about unity, and like I said yesterday in Holyoke, unity is accomplished when we're all working on the same goals. And as a leader, that's what I bring to the table. But, more than that, I want to do this. It's not a job to me. This is something that I'm ready to do. I feel called to do, and I enjoy doing. I think when people see me in places like Holyoke, Sterling, they can tell that I want to do this and that I enjoy seeing them. So for those reasons, I believe that I am the best chair for Colorado GOP, or I am the best candidate for GOP chair.
So, Darcy, you touched on something, and it's a big challenge because it seems that Democrats will get into lockstep, whereas Republicans are all of these freedom people and all have these different ideas about things. And unity, I know so many people are concerned about unity, but I think my question is, what is it that we should unify behind? What will bring us together?
Well, for our common values. For example, if we have to agree as Republicans that our kids are off the table, right? So the transgender surgeries, the woke agenda in schools, all the things that are going on in our public schools, that's something that we all agree on. If we don't agree on the fact that our kids have to be raised with conservative values and schools are for education, that I don't know what we're doing as a party. So we all agree on that. And then, just go down the list. We all agree on our Second Amendment rights. We all agree on low tax. Well, for the most part, we all agree on low taxes. So we come together on those common values, and we coalesce around those, and we accomplish the goals that we've set out. And that's what I plan to do as a leader of the next GOP. I want everybody knocking on doors, making calls, working for these candidates, helping to flip school board seats in 2025, helping to get state seats in the legislature, and working on the governor's office in 2026. And that's unity. And, when there are those squabbles, as I've told people, I, as a leader, will pull people behind closed doors and figure it out. That's what we have to do. We can't just let things fester. So as an organization that's well run, we have to nip things in the bud when they do come up.
So I was talking with someone yesterday, and here we are into 2025, and they said, have you heard who is going to challenge Hickenlooper for U.S. Senate? And my ear to the ground, I haven't heard of anybody yet. This is pretty important. Now, we've had several fine people that have stepped forward on the Republican side to throw their hats into the ring for the governorship. But I'm not hearing Secretary of State, Attorney General, Treasurer.
Yeah.
This is concerning to me, Darcy Schoening.
It is concerning. And, in 2024, there were several offices where we didn't have a candidate. And at the last minute, I found out about it, realized, oh, gosh, we need candidates out here. And it's hard in some of those seats that historically are non-winning seats for us. But in this next set of elections, we have the momentum, and we have to have candidates in every single seat that we can possibly be running somebody. So I do have a candidate recruitment tool on my website, and my team has been putting that out there. That's going to be an integral part of the Colorado GOP moving forward. And we're not only asking, are you thinking about running, but we're asking people, what are your challenges? Who are you working with? What are you seeing on the ground? And we do already have, there's over a dozen candidates that have responded to offices across the state, most of which I've never met before. So we will find somebody for those Senate seats, Attorney General, every seat. And I can promise you that. I'm working really diligently on that.
Okay. Next thing, Darcy Schoening, that is a big issue, and this certainly came up yesterday, it's called the opt-out. And this is regarding Coloradans voted for these open primaries. What was it, like 2017? And it's kind of crazy that you could have people that are not Republicans choose Republicans candidates because of these open primaries. So this has really been a contentious issue, interestingly enough, in the Republican Party. And so where do you stand on this opt-out? And am I framing that correctly?
Well, there's two separate issues there. There's the closing of the primaries, and then there's the opt-out. So, like Proposition 108, that's the current issue that we are moving forward with in the lawsuit, right? So, Proposition 108 was what originally opened our primaries, and that is something that we have to continue. And I've also been working with different legislators, including Democrats, on closing our primaries, because that 75% threshold is to me unconstitutional. Okay. To have 75% of the state central committee members to opt out. We have to close our primaries. Republicans have to choose Republicans. The nonsense that, to bring in unaffiliated, we have to allow them to vote in our primaries, is a Democrat talking point, and it's something that Republicans have accepted, and we cannot accept that. And then after we close the primaries and we move on and we have successfully accomplished that task, we can opt out of the primaries, which is to further protect caucus and assembly. Until we get to that point, there are other really crucial ways that we have to protect caucus and assembly. Those are listed out on my website. But, we go so far as to saying we really have to put the information out there to the voters to let them know, hey, this candidate made it out of assembly, and that's why this is important. So it's the closing the primaries and then opting out of the primaries.
So this open primary, this Prop 108, I remember watching that. And there has been, and I need to be careful because I can't remember. I think I remember looking at the money and now I can't remember. But I know that overall, Kent Theory has put a lot of money into changing our elections. I think he was somewhat involved in that as well, and that he has a influential consultant Republican that he hires to push these things forward. And so this changing of our elections here in Colorado, and this consultant that I think ran that campaign also has a petition gathering business. And so getting on the ballot only via petitions instead, and trying to box out the caucus and the assembly, I think we should have both options. But it seems that some of these big money people are trying to box out the assembly and the caucus, and we certainly want to protect that. And so it's gotten quite messy, but I think that it's important that we protect that process. And ultimately, I'd like to get to a point where we have both options. What do you think about that?
Well, okay, so if we have both options, that's something that, okay, so we have to, first of all, in my opinion, I don't want to speak for the body. So the body has to make that determination. Are they okay with the signature process? It does seem that, up until this point, they by and large haven't been. The signature process, the problem that the people have, the SEC has historically had with the signature process is that, as you just mentioned, people like Kent Theory, wealthy donors are buying these elections.
True.
Signatures used to run, $1, $2 a piece. In this last cycle, Kim, people were paying $12 to $15. I know it per signature. I know a candidate that to get on the ballot, he sold his motorcycle, and I'm not sure in what universe that is becoming a fair process, because the more and more those expensive those signatures get, who are the candidates that are able to pay that $15,000, $50,000, $100,000?
Good, very, very good point. So so you are in favor of closing the primaries and then opting out. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yes, as long as, like I said, as long as that is the determination that the body makes, and it happens in that order of closing the primary and then moving on to the next step, because the process of closing the primary is expensive and it's arduous, and we have to have the money and the infrastructure to then move on to the next step. But like I said, before we get there, there are other ways to protect our assembly and caucus process.
Okay, super fascinating. Okay, Darcy Schoening, running for state GOP chair. How can people get more information?
So you can go to my website, Darcy for Chair, DARCYFOR Chair. Twitter is Darcy for the number 4 CO. If you just start typing in my name, Darcy, SCHOENING, on Google, I'll come right up because my name is so different. But yeah, anybody, just feel free to reach out, give me a call. It's not just, this isn't my GOP, and it's not just about Darcy's vision for Colorado. I want to hear what everybody else has to say. And if I haven't answered your questions, just give me a call, send me a text, and, we can either get on the phone or I'll meet up with you. And like I said, I want to hear what everyone has to say. So thank you for your time, and thanks for all you're doing.
Darcy Schoening, thank you for stepping forward. Greatly appreciate it. And
Thanks, Kim.
yeah, we have all these discussions because we have great sponsors, and for everything